Started, you can go ahead and hello everyone. Welcome to today's Financially Fierce Wake Up Call. This is very exciting. We're here with Taunya Woods Richardson. My name is Linda Griffian. I'm the Education Programs Coordinator with Business Link. Thank you for joining today. We start all of our presentations with a land acknowledgement, so we're going to do that. We want to acknowledge that in the province of Alberta, we are situated on the traditional territories of Treaties 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10, ancestral homeland of diverse First Nations group, Métis and Indigenous people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial and whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. We pay respects to the Indigenous people of this land, past, present, and future, while recognizing their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land on which we reside. So thanks everyone for joining today. A few notes for everyone. There's going to be some freebies given out at the end of this session, so hang in. Tanya's going to give you lots of goodies to share with you, some freebies, some discounts, some rewards, all kinds of stuff's going to happen at the end of this amazing presentation today. Also, you can ask questions throughout. Please put those in the Q&A or I don't know, Tanya, do you prefer chat or do you prefer Q&A?
I think chat, if everyone's okay with that, that
Chat?
keeps me from having to toggle back and forth so I can see you.
Okay, so everyone, you can toss those questions into chat. You'll have lots of good follow-up resources to this presentation as well today. So yes, it's being recorded for everyone who wants to know if it's being recorded or not. Yes, it'll be recorded and posted onto the Business Link website in the next few days as well. But if you're here live, you get all the goodies and the freebies from the live presentation. So that's awesome. I think that's about it. Tanya, do you want to take it away? I'm going to go dark next for a while and let you roll with the group.
Going dark on the wake up call. Linda, thank you so much. It is such a privilege to be here. It's a lot of fun. I love numbers and I'm so grateful to all of you. I see Trin and Tete and Stella and Cherie and Robin Lynn and Nikki and Mauritia, beautiful names. Thank you all for showing up for this call. I know we're talking numbers and finance, and I know that usually isn't a founder's most favorite thing to talk about. So I'm extra aware of that and extra thankful that you've taken the time to show up today. We've got roughly an hour and a half together. I want to make sure that we have lots of time to take questions as they come up. I want you to leave this session more clear than confused. So this is about adding value to your life and your budget. And so definitely make sure that you post your questions into the chat. I'm going to see them. We also have Business Link Julian from Business Link on the call here. So Julian, feel free if I'm missing something, missing an important question, feel free to take yourself off mute and let me know that we've got a question in the chat. I'm happy to answer those questions. So, all right, what are we doing here today? The wake-up call. This is actually one of my favorite messages to share with founders because it often isn't talked about. I have never seen this conversation or heard this conversation being talked about in my 30 years of entrepreneurship. I have never seen it come together this way. And the conversation we're about to have, I'm about to have with you. It feels very one-sided. I hate that I can't see your beautiful faces, but I know you're there picking all of this up. The conversation we are about to have is the foundation on which your business is built. This is the foundation on which everything that you do in life and in business is going to be built on. So this is why it's extra important. Now, the wake-up call, we're doing this at a time that is actually mission critical. I'd like you to put in the chat for me, please. Make sure everyone's awake so far. Put in the chat if you have been feeling a financial pinch. Have you been feeling pinched financially in life or in business? We've got increased interest rates. We've got inflation. We've got increased grocery bills. Put it in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling financially. Financial pinch, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Robin. Food prices up, crazy, right? Butter, $7. Of course. Couple more. Let me see how you're feeling. How are you feeling? 100% in stress. Awesome. Okay. It is actually awesome. And here's why we're doing the wake up call. Because it is when we are feeling the most vulnerable That is when we are the most powerful. Believe it or not. This comes from behavioral finance and neuroeconomics, but it's when our back is in a corner, when we're feeling most pressured, that our brain is willing to do the uncomfortable work that it has been procrastinating on for years, if not decades. Does that ring true to anybody? It's like when we get the health scare, then we eat well and we sleep well. It's when we're on the verge of divorce that we actually start showing up in the relationship. Is when we're on the verge of financial catastrophe that we actually start to dial in on the numbers and figure out what we can be doing differently. So we are going to be doing some very, very powerful work here today through the wake up call. If there's one message to take away from that little blurb I gave you, write this down. And if you don't have a pen and notepad, definitely go get one right now, because we're doing some exercises together on the call. But I want you to write down this key message, that pressure is a privilege. It's how you look at it. Pressure is a privilege. And that's why we're here today. I'm going to put you in some uncomfortable spots because I know that when you're there, you will rise to the occasion and you will figure things out. So here's an interesting stat for you. 98% of our business community is is small business. I'm not a fan of the term small, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but 98% of our business community is small business. When we include sole proprietorships in that business community, so sole proprietorships and an incorporated company, all of those businesses, unfortunately, 98% of businesses will go down in the first 5 years. Put in the chat how many of you are familiar with that stat. Only 2% of businesses will survive 5 years. Anybody familiar with that stat? This includes sole proprietorships. Anyone? Yes. Okay, you've heard this, Kat. Sometimes we talk about the 50%, just so you're aware, if you hear the 50% survive past the 5-year mark, that number comes from incorporations only. So incorporated companies tend to survive. The 50% tend to survive the 5-year mark. But when you include sole proprietorships, 98% go down. In the chat, put in what you think the number one cause of business closures is due to. What closes down the doors of most business owners? Put it in the chat. I think you've got a good guess why you're here today. I suspect not knowing how to manage money. You've got it, Kat. Unaware of finances. No planning, Gabby. We're talking about that today. Very intuitive. They give up and they take a job, right? Financial security, money. Absolutely. This is exactly it. So the thing that I find interesting is a lot of people talk about financial literacy and numeracy. I like to use the language that the founders that go down, it's because they don't understand their numbers. In a report that the government of Canada put out, it was called Failing Concerns, and they used the language that 71% of business owners fail due to poor financial management. I personally believe, having been in this space for the last 30 years, that it's because they don't understand their numbers and where their numbers go and how they add up, nor do they understand how their brain is wired when it comes to numbers. They don't understand their mind on numbers. So this is why I started Nail the Numbers. Nail the Numbers, I'm the founder and CEO. I started this in 2014. And our mission is to strengthen your mind and your bottom line. We're out here to support founders across North America, primarily Canada, but it's about not only making sure that you understand your numbers, but you understand your brain on numbers. You understand why you haven't been doing what you know you should be doing, and conversely, maybe why you've been doing all the crazy stuff that's been keeping you financially compromised. So this is the idea today, because my mission in working with you today is that I want you to rise to your truest potential. You avoiding the numbers is you just hiding from your strength. You avoiding the numbers is you hiding from your power. So today, at the end of this call, I want to motivate you to actually want to rise to the strongest, most powerful level you can be. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to do that through 3 really uncomfortable numbers that when you crunch the numbers, they might make you want to vomit. But I say that because when you're at your most uncomfortable, that's what's going to snap you into action. And you're going to be like, okay, game on. So our 3 wake up calls that we're going to do, one is called our ROI, return on investment. The other is compensation. And the other is going to be our retirement shortfall. And I'm going to do this because I want you to know that all of you on this call right now, believe it or not, you are all sitting on a lottery ticket. It's a winning lottery ticket. Your business is a winning lottery ticket. You just don't know what numbers to pick. And when you're building your plan, I think it was Kat, she talked about we don't have a plan to get there. Your numbers are your plan in action. You know what numbers to pick, how they stack up. And believe it or not, there's a process and a plan that when you reverse engineer all of those numbers, they will show you what the winning number is. And we're going to cover that today. So to get that number, again, I'm going to get you out of your comfort zone because a lot of founders, how many of you on the call right now think that if all you did was generate more sales, you wouldn't feel the financial pinch? Put it in the chat. Put yes in the chat if you feel that all you would need to do is generate more sales for you to have a healthy, oh, I see lots of no's. Okay, awesome. I see a yes, and that's okay. That's what I always thought too. No, yes. Okay, get this. So why I love doing what I do is because quite honestly, in 2009, here's a real moment here, my business went down. So my business went insolvent, and it wasn't because I didn't have sales. Our sales were strong, our membership was strong. We actually expanded across Western Canada. What was happening is that the stronger the sales became, the greater my losses became. So it was like I was digging a hole for myself and not knowing it because I didn't have the courage to actually look into the numbers and better understand them. I was great at printing off reports and getting reports for people, but it's amazing because no one caught that the financial model was broken. It was broken from the very beginning. So in 2009, a time kind of very similar to what we're going through now, a lot of economic upheaval and uncertainty and definitely feeling the pinch. My husband at the time also had a business. It was a Ducati dealership. It was in Calgary, and it went down. But he had millions in promissory notes. So his business actually went bankrupt. So mine was insolvent, his was bankrupt. We were actually in the middle of having our baby. We were about 5 months pregnant. I was 5 months pregnant at that time. And he was actually getting through non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So a 2% chance of survival. He made it through, 2 weeks to live. Needless to say, it was a crazy time for us. I decided in 2010, actually, after I was able to get my head screwed on straight, after we walked away from the business, still going through the bankruptcy and having to share half of what we made with the government, I decided instead of being devastated by that defeat, I was going to dig into the numbers and figure out what went so wrong because I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. And that's when I realized my model was broken. And that's when I went into 2 years of understanding how to build financial models that actually work. And for the last 15 years, we've worked with over 12,000 founders in this capacity. And I can tell you, as a lender, as an educator, as a mentor, as a coach, 87% of founders are going through the same challenge of losing money in what we call the messy middle. That messy middle. So I'm going to speak to you about that today, because I want you to realize you are so close to getting that lottery ticket, a winning lottery ticket. You just don't know how your numbers are stacking up. So my very first question for you in this wake up call presentation is, I guess it's my third question for you at this point. I want you to, and I'm going to share my screen here. Here's my question for you. I want you to actually take a moment and put it in the chat. I want you to articulate why you started this business. What is your why? Put it in the chat. Let me see it. Why did you start the business? Let's go. Freedom and creativity, expression, beautiful, self-love. Let's go. Thank you, Kat. flexible work schedule, passion, wanted to help others, do what we love, passion, take care of families, help others. Awesome. Okay. So this is why most people start their business, right? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Cherie and Vanessa. Flexibility. We started because we want flexibility. We want to make more money. We want to be of service in the world. We want to give back, and we want to be able to help others. So here's what's important as we go forward. Sorry, I have this in a different presentation mode, but it will work. I need us to just get real for a moment about where we're at as Canadians, not as founders per se, but as Canadians. Here's where we sit. We're sitting at a $13.4 trillion deficit by the year 2050. And you know what? Sorry, bear with me here. I am just going to change my present mode so you don't have to see all the ling-ling-ling. Here we go. This will be better for all of us. Okay, so we're sitting at a $13.4 trillion deficit for retirement. The number one trend that's fueling that retirement deficit is entrepreneurship. Because how many of you actually make enough money every month that not only do you set aside your taxes every month, but you're also putting aside your retirement funds, right? My guess is very few. Canadians are spending $1.87 for every dollar earned, which means, in my experience, 87 cents is going on to a credit card. If we're only earning a dollar, where are we getting that extra 87 cents is going on to a credit card, which then accounts for this $23,000 in consumer debt. So this number is post-COVID. It used to be 27. After COVID, we've brought our consumer debt down to $23,035. So consumer debt is credit card debt, lines of credit. It's anything outside of our mortgage. That's what consumer debt is. Our savings has actually gone up. We used to save 3% of our income. We are now saving post-COVID 5.7%. In 1980, we saved 20% of our income. Back in the day, we didn't buy a car unless we had cash for the car. We are a society that is consumer driven, and we're using credit to fuel that consumerism. Pre-COVID, 46% of Canadians were $200 away from insolvency, meaning that 46% of Canadians were $200 away from not being able to afford just the basic expenses that came in monthly. That's what insolvency is. You're not earning enough to cover those basic expenses. That's half of our country. That's why when COVID hit, the government needed to step in and do what it did. 28% of Canadians are what we call underbanked. They don't have bank accounts, or if they do, they don't have access to credit. That's over a quarter of our country. And 2 in 10 Canadians could access $1,000 of cash in the event of an emergency. How many, I want to just open the chat. How many of you are shocked by these numbers? Anybody shocked by these? Or is this kind of like, and this doesn't even include the mortgage debt that we're getting into right now. Does this resonate with anybody? This is kind of a shocker. Just let me know if this is like, whoa, I didn't expect, not shocked at all. Trin's like, no, got it. Seems optimistic. Sadly, not shocked. Okay. We were the second worst country in the world with respect to our spending habits. Canadians, second worst country with respect to spending habits. We are now ranked number 1. We surpassed Greece. So when we were number 2, Greece was number 1. Greece went bankrupt, as you know, and now we are number 1 with respect to our spending habits. So here's, if you see yourself at all in this picture, I don't want you to fret, because I was definitely in this picture when I started my business back in 2002, the one that went down, right? Most of us are currently financially vulnerable at home. So I always talk about our personal lives and then our business lives. So personally, we're financially vulnerable. Then we go to start a business, and then we further compromise ourselves financially. So there's 5 pillars of fiscal stewardship. Oftentimes we hear about spending, sharing, and saving, but there's actually 5. And it is spending, saving, investing, sharing, and earning. Those are the 5 pillars that we really need to come to master. And they apply both in life and in business. They're called different things in business, but they're still the same pillars. So if we're financially compromised at home and then we go to start a business, I'm sharing with you here a couple of beautiful little things that I did in my early days with business. With my spending, I actually further compromised myself by taking out a personal line of credit to start my business. I used credit cards to buy things for my business. And actually, I didn't have personal loans, but I know quite a few people will use personal loans to start their business. I wiped out my entire savings account. Savings account is your emergency fund. I decided to take out all of my money from the emergency fund to start the business or to pay myself as I was going through the business. Does that ring true for anybody? Anybody, any of these things starting to happen for any of you guys? I just want to take a peek at the chat. Sorry. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And you'll see why. Uncomfortable. Pressure is a privilege, right? We just need to get real about what we've been going through, what we've been experiencing, and what we've been doing. Because once we get real with it, we can make changes. Most of us are hiding from these realities. I used to take my bills and stuff them in a drawer and not look at them. Like it was brutal. So if I can make these shifts, you can make these shifts. With investing, all of my investments, I now had liens on my property. I had cashed in my investments. I'd cashed in I'd signed promissory notes. Promissory notes are a legal document that say in the event that the business is not able to repay the loan, you are personally liable and responsible for repaying that loan. So again, further compromising your financial situation at home. With sharing, taxes weren't current. I was barely bringing home enough to make sure I could cover my mortgage and my utility bills, let alone setting aside $1,000 a month to make sure that I had enough for retirement, right? So taxes, definitely a big thing there that we further compromise ourselves on. And then, of course, last but not least, our earning is reduced. How many of you feel here right now, I'm coming back to the chat, how many of you feel that you are earning a fair market wage? So if you went to go work for someone else, what would that dollar value be per hour? Are you earning a commensurate value? Are you earning your fair market wage? Yes or no? No, never. Let's go. Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Nikki. Who else? Come on. I know. No, nope. Okay. You're not alone. This is where most founders sit. So the message here that I really want you to get from these first two slides is I know we start our business with the best of intentions. When I go back to the why, we want to make the world a better place. We want to help people. We want to make our families stronger. But unfortunately, most of us have built businesses that are further compromising our financial situation. We are becoming the money martyrs. We are taking the hit to give people in the world what we think they need. We're compromising ourselves, sacrificing for the sake of helping others. Does that ring true for anybody? Is that hitting anyone? It's like, yeah, I get that. Put it in the chat. Let me see. The message here is that you can no longer afford to create a crappy paying job for yourself. It is game on now. You can't do it. All of these things that we're talking about, spending, saving, investing, sharing, earning, these are the basics. These are necessities. This isn't talking about being a millionaire. This is about having short-term, long-term security and being able to create memorable experiences with your family. This is why it's game on. Now here, this is what's happening from a founder's perspective in Canada. And it's interesting because most of us we start our business because we think that the business is going to take care of all of our financial foes in our personal lives. We think the business is going to be the answer to everything that we've been experiencing and make all those problems magically become solved. So here's what the numbers look like in Canada with respect to where our founders are at. 90% of Canadian founders don't have an exit strategy. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. The average income of a founder right now in Canada is $59,000, roughly. That's $5,000 a month. That's before taxes are taken off. 87% of founders, their remuneration, their wages, their compensation is not commensurate with the responsibility, as we just talked about. The average consumer debt for a founder is $35,291. 7 in 10 founders, 71%, how we started the call, are closing their door to management. 53% of founders have an unstable credit score, or sorry, they have a stable credit score, which means 47% of founders do not. And 87% of founders are generating less than a 3% net profit. Okay. When I asked the why, it's been interesting to me. Why did you start the business? Very few. There's only been 2 founders that have been able to answer this question for me. The why in our business, first and foremost, to be in business, we have to be making money, not just top line, but bottom line sales. Our business is actually an investment, but most of us don't treat it like the investment. I want you to be able to answer these 5 questions the next time somebody asks you, why are you in business? What are you doing this for? The first question you need to be able to answer is, what are you building? What is the value of what you're building? So you're building a business that's going to be worth what? You're building a business that's going to be worth what? What value? What dollar value is that business going to be? Second question is, sorry, I'm going through it. Oh, by what year? So what is the dollar value? By what year? By having what impact? Here's your impact. Everybody wanted to be able to make the world a better place and be able to help others. What is the impact? How are you looking to help others? Who are the people that you're looking to help? And then by what products and services? Through what products and services that you're offering. So what is the value of your business going to be? By when? By having what impact, on whom, and then through what products and services. So next time someone asks you why you're doing what you're doing, answer that, because that then infuses your exit strategy. You're in business to get in, and at some point, it might not be in 5 years, it might not be 10, but all of you have a lottery ticket that you can trade in. You have an investment that you can actually sell down the road. Hopefully that is landing with everybody. I want you to see that. Okay, we're going to get into some numbers now. So why I showed those 2 slides, I want you to realize that you're not alone in any of these challenges. I want you to realize that you can no longer afford to build a crappy paying job for yourself. And I want you to realize that the business, it can solve your financial challenges. You just have to plan for it intentionally. You can't hope it's going to solve the problem. You have to plan for that. So when we talk about money management and people not understanding the numbers, I like to refer to what I call the gap. Because if you can wrap your head around the gap, you'll always know where to come back to. So the gap, why our founders aren't making the money that they need to make and why they're not having that financial success. A, they don't have the goal. So what is your goal? Those are the 5 questions we just put out there that we just talked about. The value of what you're building, by when, what impact, on whom, through what products and services. What is your goal? How many of you have a goal in your business? That is the goal. We need the goal. Then you need to be aligned with that goal. You need to have an emotional alignment. So when I said that there was 2 companies that knew what they were building, one of those companies was Skip the Dishes. They knew it was the very beginning. I think they were looking for the first 45,000. They needed a few tablets, but they knew that they were getting in the business and they knew that they were getting out within 5 years and they wanted to exit at a very specific amount. They had a very specific goal in mind. And their alignment was because they knew exactly with the money that they were getting out of that company, they knew exactly what they were going to do with that money. There was alignment. Alignment means you actually get excited about the goal. And then the P stands for plan. So most founders don't have a concrete goal that they're emotionally aligned with, and then they have no plan in which is actually going to, it carries them through. They're like, oh, it's step 1, step 2, step 3. Here's what I need to do. Now, because business is all about numbers, business actually speaks the language of numbers. It's financial. That's the language business speaks. When we start building our plan, we build our plan in numbers, and then we translate into words in the business plan. So today I want to take you through, we're actually going to show you, I'm going to show you how to get your goal, because it's not good enough to say, oh, I want a business that's going to be worth $1 million, because there's no alignment to that. So I'm going to take you through how you understand your goal and then how you get emotionally aligned with it. And then I'm going to show you how you build the plan, because there's 7 really simple steps to building that plan. Everybody in? Everybody in? Put in, and will you have all these questions emailed to us at all? All right, Kat, I'm not exactly sure. Will you have these questions emailed to us at all? I suspect you're thinking those 5 questions, those 5, maybe I have to create a slide for that, but I will make sure that we get you those, but we'll recap at the end as well. Okay, everybody's in. I love it. Let's go then. Let's do this. So get ready to get uncomfortable, get your notepad, get a pen, get a calculator, because I'm actually going to get you to do some math. Here we go. Wake up call number 1 is your, sorry, I'm trying to move the chat here so I can see my slide, is your ROI. So I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. My rule of thumb when you're with me today, right now, I don't want you to overthink this. This is a tendency, it's a bad tendency a lot of founders tend to have when we get into numbers. When you start looking for perfection and overthinking, it's a part of your brain that's putting up, we call them crutches, an excuse not to get through to the other side. So you're going to have to train your brain to be dirty and ugly with these numbers. We call it down and dirty. They are not going to be perfect. You can always come back and figure it out later, but you have to promise me down and dirty, you're going to get the first draft of your numbers done today. So the very first thing I want you to do is I want you to take what you think is a fair hourly rate. Now, that one usually stumps people right off the top. So I'm actually just going to say out there right now, let's actually just go for $35 an hour. $35 an hour is a mere $75,000 a year. At the very least, you should be earning that. So if your wage is more than that, you can put it in. If you don't know what your wage is, I want you to use $35 an hour. Then I want you to multiply that by how many hours on average you work per week. Is it 40? Is it 60? Is it 80? Whatever that is. So how many hours, or what your fair hourly rate is times how many hours you work per week equals your fair weekly compensation, right? That's what you should be earning, right? That's a fair compensation. So hopefully everybody's with me there. The next thing I want you to do now is I want you to take that fair weekly compensation, and let's say we added all of this up, and sorry, I'm actually going to just divide this here. So 75,000 divided by 52. So fair weekly compensation, let's say it's 1,442. I'm just using a number here. And now I want you to subtract how much you actually earn weekly. So how much does the business pay you weekly? Again, a lot of founders get stumped on this because they're not getting paid weekly, or they're getting paid every 2 months. But whatever it is that you make, so on average, just take your average that you make per month and divide it by 4. That's going to get you your average weekly compensation. So hopefully that's making sense for everybody. Hang with me. So what you should be getting paid minus what you're actually getting paid equals money owed. The business actually owes you that money. Right? Is that making sense for everybody? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're following along. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Okay, can everybody who's with me just put an okay? Awesome, thanks, Nikki. Let me know that you're following along with this. If you aren't, don't worry about it. I'm here after. I just want you to get the basics of how this wake-up call works here. Okay, so now what we do is money's owed. So whatever was over here, let's say I'm owed $400. I'm going to take my $400 and I'm going to say, how many weeks have you actually invested in the business now? Have you been in this for a year, 52 weeks? Have you been in it for 2 years, 104 weeks, right? So don't overthink it, just a rough number. And if you want, you can just go with the first year. So the money's owed for this year in 2023, 52 weeks. What is your founder sweat equity? That's what that equals. So the fair market wage that you haven't been earning, right, over the weeks that you've been working is what we call sweat equity, founder sweat equity, money into the business. And hopefully all of you will realize that at some point, right? And you'll start to account for your time, because how you deal with anything is how you deal with everything. And if you're not valuing yourself, it is likely you haven't done this exercise because you're not valuing your time. right? We need to start valuing ourselves equals valuing our time equals valuing our money. Everything starts to build. So now that you've got your founder sweat equity number, can you just give me a thumbs up or a K? I love how everybody's jumping in to let me know that you've got your sweat equity number. Throw it in there. Perfect. Okay. Then we've got our founder's capital contribution. So this sounds very techy. This is what a lender or bank would say. But a capital contribution just means how much cash have you put in the business? So how much cash have you actually invested in? And that's through all of your purchases too, your website, your domain, your email, your logo development, your startup capital, right? I put $27,000 into my business at the beginning. I actually sold my home and put the equity of my home into my business because I thought for sure it was going to be right around the next corner, right? So what is your cash into the business? This is what we call founder's equity. So one is time, that's called sweat equity. The other is capital, and that's what we call equity. Founder's equity or owner's equity. Okay, everybody with me there? You're going to add up the two and you're going to get your founder's actual investment. This is how much skin you actually have in the game. So if anybody actually asks you, you can say, this is how much skin I have in the game. This amount comes from capital. This amount comes from time. Let's know that, right? As founders, it's important. Okay, everybody got that? Everybody got it? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know everybody's good. Scary, I know. So scary is good, Stella, because scary is when we start to make change. Pressure, privilege, uncomfortable, vulnerability. That's when we start stepping up and owning our power. I love it, Stella. Thank you for sharing that, because that's when it means something powerful to me. This is scary for you. This is good. Know that your brain is starting to move in a very different direction. So now here comes the eye opener. So now what I want you to do, now most of you won't have these numbers, so I'll probably just put in an example. Oh, I can't put an example because I'm in a slide deck here, but I want you to think about, I think the easiest way to do this is just roughly think about your total sales for this year. So if you think about 2023, starting January 1st, and you take you to where you are today, what have been your total sales? Right, so get that number, just rough it out, write it down on your piece of paper. And then underneath, you're going to write down what your net profit is. Now, most of you won't know your net profit because net profit is sales minus what we call cost of goods or direct costs. That equals gross profit. Then we take gross profit and we subtract indirect costs, right? Also known as operating expenses, and we get left with net profit. And unfortunately, most founders wait until 4 months after year end when their accountant provides their statements. And then the founder's like, oh, my net profit was only 2%, right? So most of you might not know that number. I'm going to ask that when you're done this wake up call, go find it. Go into your software, go into your books, whatever that looks like. Now, here's the math that you're going to do. I'm going to walk you through an example here. Let's say our total sales were $100,000. And then we find that our net profit was $2,000. What you do is you take your net profit and you divide it by your total sales, and that will get you your percentage. So in the example that I just shared with you, that would be 2%, right? 2,000 divided by 100,000 equals 2%. Everybody with me on that? Thumbs up. Give me a, what is net profit? Great question, Vanessa. So again, net profit is also known as net income, but it is what we call the bottom line. And that, in my opinion, is the most important number. It's not about sales, it's about that bottom line. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But net profit is all of your sales minus your direct costs, minus your indirect costs equals net profit, also called net income. That is the bottom line. So hopefully that answers that. Okay, so your sales number goes up here, Kat, total sales. Your net profit will go here. Then you take your net profit, you divide it by your total sales, and you'll end up with a percentage. Now, most of you, in our experience, over 87% of you are going to end up with a net profit of less than 3%. Less than 3%. Sorry, I'm looking at Kat's. What is the net profit number, though I only see sales? Can everybody see? Oh, right. Yes. Okay. I think I'm picking up on what you're saying, Kat. Um, your net profit is in your software, and it should be, you're going to see it on a statement that is called in Canada, we call it an income statement. It's also called a profit and loss in the States. It's the same thing. Income statement, profit and loss. Great question, Kat. Thank you for that. That's where you find your net profit. You're going to see it at the very bottom of that document. That's where you're going to find your net profit. So now that we've got a percentage, here's what I really want to have land with you. So we've got, most of you, I know, because we've been doing this for 30 years and finance specifically for the last 15, 87% of you are going to have a net profit that's going to be less than 3%, unfortunately. Now throw in the chat, what is the number one expense that we have not accounted for in that net profit on average? Usually. What expense do we, yes, Robin, you've got it. Robin Lee, yep. Wages. So from that 3%, we have to subtract the founder's wages, right? The founder's dividend, however you get compensated, whether it is a dividend or whether it is a wage, that is your compensation. We have to subtract our compensation from that net profit. And then guess what happens? Wah, 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 right? Like we end up in a deficit position, or if we're not lucky, because it's definitely not lucky, that is not your lucky ticket, break even. And most founders think if they're breaking even, they're doing well, right? Who here thinks if you're breaking even, you're doing well? Anybody? I've probably just given it away, but right. Thanks, Nikki. But I think a lot of founders, at least in my experience, they're breathing a sigh of relief because they feel they haven't lost money. Here's your eye opener. These are savings accounts as of November. When did I do this? 10th in Canada. These are high interest savings account, Neo Financial. Neo Financial, guess who that was started by? Skip the dishes, guys. They took their money and started Neo Financial. EQ Bank, Alterna. These are the percentages that you would be making on your money if you had put all of your time and money, right, lost wages and your capital expenditure, your founder's equity. If you decided to put it into a savings account, you would be making 2.25, 2.5, 2.25, 3.4. There was one here, 4.10 in Motive Financial. And here's the trigger. It would have taken you 10 minutes. It would have taken you zero time. And by the way, this investment into your savings account, this is guaranteed money, right? In Canada, our savings is guaranteed up to a specific threshold. So you would have been guaranteed 4% for zero effort and zero risk. And we've got almost 90% of you on the call that are going all in, balls to the wall, right? All risk, further compromising yourself at home to barely squeak home a 1%, if not losing money every month. Your business is an investment. You have to step up and own your power and treat it like an investment. It should be earning you more than 4% if you're putting in 40 hours a week. Does that make sense to anybody? Like, we got to switch our mindset. This is why we want to strengthen your mind, not just your numbers. You've got to game on. You've got to boss up. You've got to build your business into an investment that generates, when we worked with you, we want to get you to 11.5%. Because you could go put your money very easily into an index fund and make 7-8%. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to do that, but that's where I put my money into investments, ETFs, and I'm making 7 to 8. Right? Through COVID, they went up to 29, zero effort. Okay, that's wake up call number one. Your net profit, this little doodad right here as a percentage, is the ROI that you have been making on your business investment. And you need to make sure that you're subtracting your wages from that. So who here got that? Did that resonate with people? There will be a recording, absolutely. Please let me know that wake up call number one landed with you. Your business is an investment. You've been generating an ROI that's less than a savings account, most likely. Throw it in the chat, please. Making a loss. It's okay, Jane. That's why we get uncomfortable, because we have to see it. right? Nobody even looks at this math. They don't even consider that their business is investment. So if it felt uncomfortable doing it, it's great because it's about moving on to the next step. Now that we can see differently, now we know we have to do differently. Okay, that's wake up call number one. Wake up call number two, again, down and dirty. I do not want you to overthink this because I have very specific tools for you where you will be able to dial in on all of these numbers using Excel calculators. But because this is a webinar and I can't see you and I can't see you using your calculator, I don't want to do that here with you today. I want you to, again, get the eye opener so that you want to get motivated to do the math. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think roughly, again, down and dirty, what is your monthly budget for spending? So spending on needs is our first category here. So needs would include, and I want you to just high level, so just jot this down as I say it. What is your monthly mortgage or rent? Jot it down. What is your monthly car payment? What is your monthly insurance? Life insurance, home insurance, car insurance? Just jot it down, rough number. What is your monthly health care? And then what is your monthly kids schooling? I wouldn't say activity, let's go schooling. So just jot that down, high level number, and throw that number into needs right here. Throw it in right here. Okay, next, I want you to think about what is your monthly spend on all of your wants. So wants aren't necessities, right? Wants are, they're nice to have. So I want you to think about what you spend monthly on all of your subscriptions. Netflix, Disney, Prime, Amazon, Audible, yada, 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 yada. I'm just going through. It's Apple, right? What are all of your expenses on monthly subscriptions? What do you spend on fuel? And this is as a household. This isn't business expenses, these are personal expenses. What do you spend on maintenance of your car, of your home? Maintenance on you is called grooming. What do you spend a month on grooming, on haircuts, on massages, nails? And what do you spend a month on clothing? There's definitely some gray areas here, but for now, we're just keeping it simple. Add them all up and throw it in here under monthly spend on wants. Now, splurges are highly discretionary. And in the category of splurges, we typically have eating out, entertainment, and then all of those above and beyond, right? The clothing, the shoes, the beauty products, like all of those that don't fit. We call them wants, but a want is like shampoo, right? A splurge would be the $40 shampoo or the hair mask, or, you go in a Shoppers Drug Mart and you just end up filling the cart. So what do you spend a month on splurges? Give me a thumbs up when everybody's kind of got their rough draft. Again, I don't want you to go into detail here. I have tools that will help you go into the details. I want you to just a high level, get it sketched out here right now this morning while we're together. Give me a thumbs up if you've got that sketched out. Your spending, needs, wants, splurges. Not yet. Okay. Thanks, Kat. I'm going to wait for 3 Ks or 3 thumbs up before we move on to the next. Really hate that I can't see you. Thanks, Trin, Jordan, Nikki. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Gabby. All right. So now our next number, thanks, Sarah, is how much money do you apply to your debt burden? So this has a couple of parts, and I just want to be clear. So the R for that's ahead of this is what we call revolving debt. This is going to be your lines of credit, your credit cards, not business debt, right? Just our personal debt. R means revolving debt. It means that debt that as long as we're making our minimum payment, we're okay. We're in the clear. So our payments can be higher than minimum. We can pay earlier. We can't pay later, but it's going to be your credit cards and your revolving credit. Now credit cards and lines of credit. The next piece here is burden. So the only debt that we're talking about here is what is that debt that you can't shake? Remember, we talked about us being $23,000 in consumer debt. It's because we keep carrying it over month over month over month over month. So the question here is every month, how much money do you apply to try to get that debt wiped out? Is it $500? Is it $750? Is it $1,000? Just on average, what is that number? You're going to throw that in here. There you go. Awesome, Kat. 250. We're going to throw her in. Then do your monthly amount apply to savings. So again, savings is an emergency fund. And it's every month you make a, like, did you wipe out your emergency fund through COVID and are you restacking it? Have you never stacked it? Right? Like, do you not contribute to it at all? Or is it already at the amount that you need for emergency and now you're reallocating your money? So whatever you apply to your savings account, savings is not safe to spend. Savings is not, oh, I'm going to build this account so we can go on holidays. Savings is emergency funds only, that once it gets to that total, you don't touch it and it sits there and it's there to support you in the event of a global pandemic. Who would have thought? So how much money do you put there? Great question, Jordan. I'm going to show you in a second. There's some great calculators. My rule of thumb, so Jordan's question is like, what takes priority? Saving, investing, sharing, spending, right? My advice, what I do and what I encourage all of our founders to do is to actually start each pillar, to actually start applying yourself to becoming a fiscal steward of that pillar, right? Because it's when you start the process that your mind gets wired differently. So if you had $100 to apply somewhere, you might be putting $90 to debt, but you're putting $10 to savings. So there's a behavioral finance, there's a neuroeconomic reason why we start each pillar and we don't wait for one pillar to be done before the next. But I'll show you a really cool calculator. Okay. So we have savings, monthly investment contributions. Don't overthink it. Just think about, okay, what do I actually put into investing every month? That includes tax-free savings plans. I don't know why they call it savings, but TSFAs, RRSPs, registered retirement savings plan. Again, that word savings, it's an investment. It's what it should be called, but I'll get off the soapbox. How much money do you put into investing every month? And how much money do you actually share with others every month? Whether it's at a cash register and they're saying, oh, would you like to donate $10 to Kids Helpline? Maybe you tithe with your church. Maybe you give donations when people come to your door and ask you for money. What is that monthly amount? And now you're going to do the math. You're going to add it all up and you're going to get your subtotal. Give me a thumbs up when you've got your subtotal. I'm going to wait for 3 thumbs before I move on. Again, I don't want you to overthink this. Thanks, Gabby, because I'm going to get you to dig in a little later here. Kat, awesome. One more. Let's go. Yes, Sarah. Brilliant. Beautiful. Okay. So now what I'd like you to do, if this applies to you, work with it. If not, just leave it. But what we do is we take our subtotal and we take off, oftentimes when we're an entrepreneur, I speak from experience, we usually, if we're in a relationship, oftentimes our partner has a stable and secure job. Sometimes both of us are like, going all out, but oftentimes there's a partner where there's security. If you have security with an income, just take your subtotal and minus your partner's net monthly income. So the net means that after taxes, right? So if their paycheck is 5,000, their net might be 3,400. So just rough numbers. What is that after tax dollar? Take that off of your subtotal and that's going to get you your balance. So as an example, if my monthly total was $10,000, my partner made $3,000, that leaves me with a balance of 7,000. You are not including your salary. So now what you're going to do, that balance, whatever that number is, I need you to add 30% for tax, because the balance is what we're missing at the end of the month, right? It's what we call our deficit. So let's say I did my math and it ends up being 7,000. I think, oh, I just need to earn $7,000 now, but I forget to account for taxes. So I'm just roughing out the 30% for a tax bracket. As you know, there's a whole methodology with respect to taxes, but add 30 for now. And this is going to get you your total of what you think you need to be earning now doing this math. Everybody have their total? Give me 3 thumbs. One, two, uno más. One more. There we go. Thank you. All right. So now here's the thing. When we do this work, and I'm going to invite you into a blueprint where I'm going to give you all the tools for free and some coaching if you want it, so that you can really dial in on these numbers. Because right now, you think you need this amount. In our experience over the last, what is it, 14, what are we now, 29 years of doing personal budgets with founders, on average, you're going to need to multiply that by 2.3%. Sorry, not percent. That's it. That's wrong. My apologies. I'll have to go fix that. What you're going to do is it's not 2.3%, it's just 2.3. Take the percentage out. I'm so used to percentages. You have to multiply it by 2.3. Take the percentage out. No worries, Kat. I've got you on the other side. The wake-up call here is I don't want you to worry about these numbers because I'm going to give you the calculators so that you can really dial in on them. I want you to realize that you aren't even making anywhere close to what you need to be making to ensure your financial security at home. When we work with founders, what they have been making, what they think they need to make, they need to up it by 2.3, 2 times, 2.3 times what they're currently making. Does that wake up call set in? How many of you think you're earning what you need to be earning? You've been feeling comfortable with, oh, and we already talked about this. We know you're not earning a fair value, but do you think that what the business is paying you right now, that you are taking care of your family, that you're actually building financial security at home, or are you building financial insecurity? Are you compromising your family? Put it in the chat. Let me see. What is the feeling? Because you know intuitively, you can feel it. You can either feel that, oh no, I'm taking care of things at home, or you can feel that push, that resistance to, this isn't feeling good, it's feeling tight, I'm feeling scarcity, I'm worried about what the future is going to look like, right? Not making enough money, feeling the pinch, feeling push. Okay, awesome. Okay, again, this is awesome because you're looking at numbers now that most founders don't have the courage to look at. You're actually showing up here today to look at these numbers and go, okay, you know what? Making a lousy return on my business investment, not making anywhere close to what I really do need to be earning in my personal life. And I'm going to show you how you're going to crunch those numbers out. And here comes the third wake-up call. The third wake-up call, and then I promise it's all going to be good from this point forward. I promised you that we'd get uncomfortable with some of these numbers. Pressure is a privilege, right? So here is the third wake-up call, and the wake-up call is your retirement shortfall. So I'm going to let you do this another time because these numbers are just, there's value in doing this exercise, but it's going to be so far removed from what the actual number is. I don't want to confuse you by getting you to go through this exact process. But what you would do is you take your spending on needs, wants, and splurges. You're going to add those up and you're going to multiply it by 12 months, which will give you what your annual spend is going to roughly need to be in your years of retirement, right? So these numbers you can get from the last 2 exercises that we just did. You can get those and then plug them in here. You're going to add them up and multiply it by 12 months, which will say, oh, I need on average this amount to live per year. Then you would take that amount and you would multiply it by how many years you plan to be in retirement, right? So it, roughly 20, if we retire at 65, let's hope we live to 85. So that would mean 20 years in retirement. So 20 years times what we need per year, right? We're going to get funds required. We're then going to take a look at what are your current assets and what are they going to be worth at retirement. I know there's a lot here. That's why I don't want to necessarily go in detail in this exercise because most of you won't know this number. I'm really excited to show you the calculator because when you add up all the math, you're going to be able to determine what your retirement shortfall is. And we have a calculator that will show you to the penny what that retirement shortfall is. Now, why this is an eye opener. A is that, again, most of us aren't setting aside taxes every month. Most of us aren't setting aside that investment every month. So we're not even on track to making those retirement numbers happen, right? Because we're not even putting into investment. Here's a question for you, and I want you to put it in the chat. Where else can we find our retirement shortfall? If we're not putting money aside every month, where else can we make that shortfall up? Who knows the answer to that? Where else can we find that shortfall? Our kids, yes, Jordan. Our kids, I love it. Your RRSP, your Registered Retirement Savings Plan, that will come into account here. Sorry, I'm trying to find your name. I just see webinar chat. Kat, that does come into account in the calculator. So good on you for getting that money aside. That's going to become what we call an asset at retirement, right? Because you're going to start cashing that out. But Cherie, yes, that's it. It is your business. Your business. How many of you here have even thought about the option of selling your business? We know you don't, most of us, me included, way back in the day, I didn't treat my business as an investment. And how many of you are actually thinking, I'm actually in the process of building something, an investment that pays off short term and an investment that I can cash in and sell in the future to make up my retirement shortfall? How many of you think like that? Just put yes or no in the chat. Let me see. This is a huge, huge, huge wake-up call. We need to be thinking like that because most of us need this retirement shortfall. And the only way we're going to find it is in the business. This is why it's the wake-up call, right? We have to do that. Okay. So so it's hard when I can't talk with you and we can't get the mics off. So I'm going to give you the answers here. But that retirement shortfall, when we think about if we're going to sell our business, sorry, I'm trying to figure the best way to say this. There are several methods that a business valuator will use to determine the price of your business. One of them is what we call future cash flow. So out of all the clients that you have, how many of them are repeat business and what kind of business is guaranteed to come in with respect to future cash flow? The other method is what we call assets and inventory. So assets include what's in the bank, what's our inventory, what's our equipment, do we have property? It's on our balance sheet. It's all the assets that we're currently holding, right? That's another way to determine the value of the business. Third way to determine the value of the business is the bottom line. It goes all the way back here. Where am I going to find it and just really throw us off? This ROI, this net profit. What valuators do is they take that number. In this example, we were 2,000. They take that number, and every industry has what we call a multiple. They have a different multiple. So if you're in a financial industry, they would take 2,000 and multiply it by 1.4, right? And that would get us our purchase price. So 2,000, whoops, I'm looking for my calculator, 2,000 times 1.4 equals, I would get $2,800 for my business. In the tech space, it's a multiple of 10. So then I'd get $20,000 for my business. Why building this bottom line is so important is that it's your ROI in the short term. It's that return on investment. But this bottom line is what is going to influence, be a primary driver in the purchase price that you get for your business. Does that land on everybody? Just give me a thumbs up if that landed. Your net profit is going to be a big factor in your purchase price. Yes. Okay. I want you to write this down. There are 4 reasons why profit is key. One reason is because that net that you're making at the end of every year, and after we work together, it is going to grow, right? We want to get you to 11.5%, not the measly 2 or the deficit. So 11.5. What's going to happen with that cash at the end of every month, that is your net profit, we set it aside in a holding account. And that holding account on the balance sheet, it's called retained earnings. In our world, we call it an emergency net. Those retained earnings are fueled by net profit. And because the vast majority of Canadian founders don't generate net profit, the vast majority of Canadian founders do not have an emergency net. Hence, when COVID hit, the government needed to step in. And now most of us went out, we got benefits, and then we didn't step up and rise to the occasion of figuring out how to get that debt repaid. We let it coast. And now the government's saying, oh, we've got an extra 2 weeks, 18 days before you have to pay it. We're letting it coast even further. So there's always an answer. Your business is your lottery ticket. We need to show you how to put your numbers together so that you win big. So number 1 reason for profit, it is actually your emergency fund. Second reason for net profit, it is actually your short and your long-term ROI. Your business is an investment. Profit is your short-term gains and your long-term win when you go to sell it. That's the second reason, kind of 2 in there. So the third reason here actually comes from why most of you started your business. It was about giving back. Your impact is greatest felt when you are profitable. It is from your net profit that you can go out and give back to the world. You don't compromise yourself to give out to the world. You take your net profit and you can give a portion of that and share that forward in life and in business. So I've shifted gears here a little bit to talk about the business, because you can't financially compromise yourself at home and then expect your business to take care of everything. So our through line in all of our work at Nail the Numbers is about profitability, because profitability is what ensures that you're a healthy, stable, sustainable company. It is not top line sales. Remember back in my example, the greater my sales, the greater my losses. 87% of you are losing money in what we call the messy middle. And I am going to cover that. Before I do, I want to keep my eye on time. Here's what I want you to do right now, because I'm not going to go through it with you here, but I have calculators for you. So maybe, sorry, Jillian, I think it's Jillian. Sorry, Jillian. I'm not sure if Linda gave you the links. If you wouldn't mind putting the links in the chat. If not, everybody grab your phone, grab the QR code, and get into the Stronghold budget. When you get that QR code, you're going to land on this page. It's going to say buy the Stronghold budget. I want you to put in code NTN. It is case sensitive, 2023. You're going to get it for free. I'm giving you this for free. You need to get your personal house in order. Then you build your business numbers. Personal numbers come first. Because when you do this, you're going to end up with 2 numbers that feed your business budget. You're going to know how much you need to get paid every month, and you're going to need to know what your retirement shortfall is, because we need to see what you need to build your business into. There is no point in doing a business budget if you don't know what your goal is. Now you're going to have a goal, and you're going to be emotionally aligned. The code right here, Kat, NTN for Nail the Numbers, all lowercase, 2023. You get in for free. And I'm going to take you on a very quick tour of the calculators, because once you see them, you're going to want in. Okay. So here's what you get in the Stronghold budget. You are going to get calculator number 1. This is what we call the budget snapshot. And this does all the math for you. So you're actually getting a pretty comprehensive workbook. It's about 70 pages, but it takes you through each question. and it's going to ask you all the questions so that you can get the numbers. So you're going to first put in your current snapshot, and then you're going to actually start looking at your stronghold, because you're likely going to have to make some changes with respect to how much you're applying to debt, how much you actually need to start setting aside for your investments, and we need to account for tax, right? This is when we're going to find out. This morning we said, oh, just times it by 2.3. You're going to find out exactly what you need to be earning. So in this calculator, you can see this founder went from earning $3,000 a month, and now they realize they need to earn $7,970 per month, right? Bang on. Okay. It also, in this tool, has your net worth calculator. So all of your assets minus all of your liabilities. And it's got the retirement calculator. When you get into the stronghold, there's a couple of ways that we can work together. I want you to know that we're here to support you. We've got challenges. You can also buy what we call a power pack, so we can support you through any areas that you're most vulnerable in. But we do have a fun challenge coming up that's 3 weeks, and together we're going to do all of these numbers. But in the calculator, you can see you plug in the numbers, bam, right here at the bottom, it's showing you what your retirement shortfall is. This is the work, this is the calculator your financial advisors are using. Now you get to use it and ask your advisors questions. Even in this case, I just want to show you this number because this is fun. If we thought we needed $100,000 per year, this calculator will show you that based on you retiring in another 20 years, it's actually going to be 180,000 based on inflation. I don't know if any of you have been following the inflation game, but we were at 2.5, we went up to 4, then we went up to 8.7. I think we were at 9 for a bit. I think we've come back down. But this calculator, watch how important inflation is. That's why I love calculators. Because if inflation was sitting at 3 and we needed $100,000, our shortfall here in this case is 903. If inflation went up to 3.5, our shortfall, 3.5, half a percentage, our shortfall went from 900 to 1.4. If there's a key message in this, if you take care of the smallest little details, the half a percentage, if you call your credit card company up and ask for a half a percentage in savings on interest, that adds up, right? So you're getting the retirement calculator. Jordan, to your question, look at what you're also getting. I feel like Vanna White here on The Price is Right. You get the debt repayment calculator. And again, we can do all of this together. But the debt repayment calculator, you put in your revolving debt, you put in your balances, balance meaning what you currently owe on that revolving debt. You're going to put in the interest rate that you're currently being charged, and then you're going to put in your monthly payment. Over here, it's going to show you, sorry, Gabby, it should say, do you have a promo code anywhere? Anywhere on that, like on that payment page, it's going to say, do you have a promo code? That's where you put your code in. I can help you after if you have a problem. All right. So then over here, it's showing you what the interest is that you're paying. Look, if there was ever I want to vomit moment, it's the debt repayment calculator. But if my visa's at 27 and I'm making a payment of 500, it's showing me that the interest that month, 494 went to interest, right? $5.22 went to my principal. So now down here, it's going to show you what your total debt load is. And then down here, again, you might want a trash bin handy. It's going to show you what your total interest paid if you don't make any changes. So total debt, 38,000, 39,000 if I round up. Total interest is 21,000. So in our work here in the debt repayment calculator, and again, when you go in the academy, there's step-by-step instructions, but we do have a challenge coming up that starts on November 4th, so we can work together as a group, live with cameras on, to do this work together. We want to get you out of debt in 36 months at the most. So this is where we get to pay or play with this number. And because I know it, if we applied 1,500 to debt every month instead of 1,070, we would get out of debt in 34 months and actually save $10,000 in interest. But I wanted to show you these calculators because, heck yeah, I want to get you motivated to get into the Stronghold budget and take ownership of your personal finances. All right, there was a lot there, but this is why we do the wake-up call, to see, okay, game on, I need to change it. You're founders. You are risk averse. Like you've got this, right? You can go, this is simple work. The calculators do the math. You've already looked at the most unpleasant part of it all, realizing that, you know, it wasn't a great story in the past, but starting today, you change your story. Starting this moment, everything changes. This is what it's all about. Okay. So after you do the stronghold, we get to do it together, or you're able to get it done on your own, however it works for you. You're going to have your two numbers. You're going to know exactly what you need to get paid every month, and you're going to know exactly what you need to turn your business into, right? That retirement shortfall. Now, my friends, comes the plan. So goal and alignment, you got it. Now comes the plan. And now I want to show you just step by step. So this is the flagship of our program at Nail the Numbers. We have lots of financial training programs, but this is the heart of our business. It's because profitability is first and foremost the most important thing that you need to aim for in your business. It is not a dirty word. And we need to account for true expenses. So what we do very differently, we're the only company to do it, as far as I am aware. And I know that's a big statement, but I feel pretty convinced. We're the only company that will help you budget what we call backwards and bottom up. So you're actually starting with the end in mind. We call it reverse engineering. You know what you need to be earning. That might not happen next month, but you know what you need to earn, and you know what you need to build the value of your business by when. Right? So that's our end goal. Then what we do is we bring you up. We start at the bottom. The profit isn't, oh, we'll see what we make at the end of the day. It's actually where we start our planning process. So if you want to change it, you can change it. This is the only number that we pull out of thin air. And we pull 11.5 for a very specific reason. 10% is for you, 1.5 is for CRA. So why we pick 10 is because we know you could go and fairly conservatively make 7 to 8% in a index fund or an ETF. So that's where we got our 10 from. That's the only number we've pulled out. We want to give you an investment that's going to make it worth your time. So we lock you in at 11.5 net profit, and then we just go upwards. So again, I'm not going to get into it now, but all of these terms, they fall into the same pillars of spending, saving, sharing, investing, and earning, right? But in business, they're called different things. So we start you off with your net profit. Then we actually budget for the real indirect costs. So what is this business really going to be out, including team and personnel expenses, which is your salary, right? This is where we budget for your salary. Believe it or not, this is actually really uncomfortable work because most founders are so used to budgeting based on where they're at right now and bootstrapping the heck out of their budget. So we actually get you to think like a CEO now and being responsible for the financial decisions that you need to make for the business. So what do you need to budget for? Not what you can afford. What do you need to budget for? Then we actually take you up here to step 3, which is defining what are your key revenue streams. What is the core of your business? And we optimize the heck out of those revenue streams. So we don't do any hourly rates. It's like, what is the bundle? What is the package that you're selling? We usually don't sell any one-off products unless they're cars or major pieces of equipment. What is the bundle that you're selling? What is the bundle that provides the ultimate solution to the customer? They don't want to have to piecemeal it together. They want a solution. You have to bundle according to solution. Then after we find your top 3 to 5, that's it, not 35, right? Not 35 products and not one called sales. They have to be categorized. Then we take you through your direct costs. So step 4 is direct costs. We actually dial in on materials, input subs, and labor. For every revenue stream, there is a specific direct cost. And then once we've landed on your direct cost, we then set the price, not only according to cost, but we take into account competition. And most importantly, we take into account the value that your product or service offers. This, my friends, revenue streams, direct costs, and price. This is what we call the messy middle, or the Bermuda Triangle of business. This is where 87% of you are hemorrhaging money every day. This is where you're losing your profit. It's not indirect costs. Most of you aren't even budgeting for the real costs and they come up as a surprise. The Bermuda Triangle of business, where your profits perish and your dreams go to disappear. You're all losing money here. A good 87% of you are. In some cases, you are paying the customer to do business with you. So this is where we do a deep dive. So like a lottery ticket, you figure out all of these numbers. It's going to show you exactly how much you need to be earning. And it's actually going to break it down for you by saying, oh, you need to sell this many of this product, this many of this product, this many of this product. Then we walk you through a strategic sales plan. We call it the marketing mix. That's our step 6. Because as a founder said yesterday, oh, well, that's easy. I just need to sell more. Big difference. Once you know what you need to sell, every dollar that comes in has a very specific place to go, including your net profit. So at the end of every dollar coming in, when it's gone where it needs to go to, you're ending up with 0 at the end. You are owning your numbers. They're not owning you. So then we have a strategic plan, and then we actually do the 3-year follow through. So now we actually take you, so from where are you starting December 1st? And now how do we get you month by month by month? How do we scale those numbers? Because as the numbers scale, again, every dollar has a very specific role, but it takes you from where you are to where you need to be. This is the winning lottery ticket. And your winning lottery ticket, you're all sitting on it, and you're about 75% of the way there. It's just that most of you are losing money here and you haven't budgeted for true costs here. Does that land? Can you please just give me a thumbs up and let me, like, because this is what it, like, when you get your numbers, they show you what to do in business. You don't need to be confused anymore. You don't need to be scared. It's just saying step by step by step by step. Here's what you do. Here's how you start growing your wages. Here's how you start growing your profit. Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Anyone else? Anyone else want to show me? Cherie, thank you for that. Okay. So that's what we call the financially fierce formula. It's the flagship to our program. And I want to come over here for a bonus wake up call, because as we talked about, sales is not always the solution. In most cases, it isn't. So this is an example of a before and after picture. This is a construction company back in 2019. They came to us. We get a lot of business through a bank in Canada that supports a lot of entrepreneurs. And typically those entrepreneurs are making millions in revenue, but they've got a negative net profit. So they talked a good talk. They said, yeah, we're a really strong business. We're 4.1 million in revenue. They didn't know what their revenue streams were. They just said, oh, we do construction, we do new home builds, we do renovations, but we haven't separated it. They knew their direct costs, but not per revenue stream. And they knew their direct costs were 110%. So no business can survive on direct costs that are greater than revenue, right? But they didn't know where they were losing money. Their indirect costs, they hadn't been paying themselves. They hadn't been paying themselves at all. And then they had some debt that they were servicing, and they weren't doing any marketing. So they couldn't get any leaner and meaner on indirect costs. We went through the exact same formula. This happens for every business at every stage of business, for every industry, regardless of geography, regardless of currency. It's the same formula. You will use this formula. It's not a course, it's a skill. This is what they should be teaching in university, first and foremost. Because once you understand how your numbers come together, you've got it made. You've got it made. So we use the formula and we locked them in. Now this is their first year, so they were 9.3 that they wanted to get locked in on. We increased their indirect costs. Happens every time. They went from 3.79 to 10.78. They got paid a salary. They budgeted for marketing. Their space and operating costs went up. All of their indirect costs went up. We attached revenue streams. So now we knew renovations, medium, large, extra large, custom homes. They got that locked in. And we dialed in on the direct cost per. This is all the work that we get to do together. We will do this with you so that you know your direct cost per revenue stream. Check it out. They went from 4.1 million to 3.8. They decreased their sales. Their net profit, not only were they paying themselves $250,000 and their team, but they generated $353,000 in net profit in 2020. It is not about the sales. It's about cleaning up this darn messy middle, the Bermuda Triangle, so that you can generate more profit. Had we had just gone in and looked at ways to increase sales, which is what they originally wanted to do, I had to coerce them into looking at the numbers. This would have turned to a negative 21%. And this is what most of your numbers are looking like. Does that make sense to everybody? I really hope, can you just let me know this landed? Yeah, okay, awesome. Anyone else? Landed? Getting it? Awesome, okay. So in our recap here, eye opener number one, your business is an investment. What return on investment are you making? You need to make it sound, right? Like, let's get it 11.5. Let's get that. Eye opener number two, compensation. You're not earning, I put money on it, you're not earning what you need to be earning right now. Your business needs to get itself in a position where it pays you more. You need to know exactly what that wage is, right? So that's why you're in the stronghold. Eye opener number three is your retirement shortfall. Again, for most of us, our only way to make that shortfall is our business. The earlier we start, the better position we're in to make sure that that happens for us, right? The four powers of profit: emergency net, short-term and long-term ROI, right? And then it is where our purpose comes from. It's where our impact is felt. I can tell you in the work that we do, one of the things that gets me the most excited is that when people come in to nail the numbers, they have a small mentality. We've bought into this idea that we are a small business owner because we're labeled as small. And unfortunately, that oftentimes comes with the cost of paying ourselves a small salary, charging a small price, and generating a small net profit. So I love it when we take a small business owner, because you're anything but, and we move you into becoming an entrepreneur. The actual definition of entrepreneur is one that's able to create a financially viable enterprise from idea to financial viability. Then we take you into thinking like an investor. Now it's about my business is an investment. What is my ROI? And then we take you into a philanthropist. We call them stewards of profit, because I believe if all of you start to nail your numbers, and you will, and you start to generate that net profit, you become stewards of profit, and you will redefine the narrative of what it means to profit in business. You are so frigging powerful. You need to own it. My mission today was to get you to rise to that bar, rise to your true potential, rise to your true power. All of your answers are in your numbers. They're right there for you. Don't avoid them, please. They're giving you everything you need to know. So here's the right fit. We've got the stronghold budget. There's more information on the financially fierce formula. We're going to send that out. Here's what I'd love for you to do next. After the stronghold budget, the next thing I would love for you to do, for me and for other founders, is if you could hit us up with a Google review. We're late to the Google game. We only have 34 reviews on there. We really need you to share your story, because we want more founders to be inspired by what you say so that they have the courage to dig into their numbers. So if you leave us with a Google review, we will give you a $50 gift certificate to apply to any of our programs, including our challenges. It also includes our financially fierce formula. So if that's of all of interest to you in working together in the fierce formula, I'm going to ask that you reach out to helpdesk@nailthenumbers.com. We actually have a cohort starting on January 8th, but we only have 11 seats left. So I want you to reach out. Let me know if you're interested. We'll go through some of your current numbers and how, if we think that we can be of support to you, we'll make sure that you get in there. But just reach out to helpdesk@nailthenumbers.com if you're interested in that. The other thing that I want to show you is that when you sign up for that, there is another challenge that is starting on the 24th. Once you're in the stronghold, I'm going to send you information on it. So there's nothing that you need to do. It starts on the 24th. We're going to work through the personal budget together, and we're also going to work through your mindset. So it's about money management in life and your mindset. And what I do want to show you, that starts on the 24th. Where did I want to go? I wanted to show you through something. But I also want you to know, in addition to that email, that you can always reach out to me. That will go to Christina, and then she will forward that to me. And I'll just have a conversation with you. There's no sales tactic. Does it work? Does it not work? Is it for you? But I promise you, this is work that needs to be done. If it's not with us, it needs to be done with your bookkeeper account. You can't avoid doing the numbers. You got to do it. But once you're in your stronghold number, I saw this question come up, so I'm just going to show you. Once you're in here, get ready for eye openers. Under download your tools, all the tools that we went through today and your workbook, they're all here, right? So your workbook, your budget, and your debt repayment calculator, that's where you find it, under download your tools. The other thing that is key, and I'm just trying to move chat so I can see, do you see this little discussion button up here? If you are trying to do this on your own and you need help, hit the discussion button. We will answer your question within 2 to 5 hours. We'll be there to support you through any questions that you have. If you want to go it on your own. If you don't want to go it on your own, we have a challenge coming up on the 24th. But if you're in the Stronghold budget, I'll be able to email you information on that. And if you leave us a Google review, you can use that $50 to apply to that cost. So I'm going to leave it there. I want you to again realize that you are anything but small. You are powerful beyond belief. I really hope these wake up call, these eye openers here in the wake up call boot camp landed with you. That you're now seeing this business very differently, and that you have the power to control your outcomes. You do not need to let economic uncertainty shake you. The rich get richer during economic uncertain times, right? The poor get poorer. You are rich. You're bolder than you know. I know you've got this. I'm here to support you on the other side. Help desk at nailthenumbers.com. If you need to chat with me for anything, if you have any questions, I'm there to support you through it. Sorry, I'm going to leave it there. So anybody who needs to go, but Kat, I just want to make sure. I love it. Sorry, Jane, I saw your meeting is who here would love a review that says this was really uncomfortable, but super helpful. The more uncomfortable you are in life, like when you put yourself out there, remember, I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt that said, do one thing a day that scares you. Just so you know, from a behavioral perspective, anytime you do something that's uncomfortable, you're rewiring your neurons to form a new, what we call neural pathway. Our current financial situation is it's a reflection of our past decisions. When we do uncomfortable work, it means we're starting to form new pathways, which means that we're starting to form new patterns that get us our winning ticket. So that is the gem in feeling uncomfortable. Thanks for that, Jane. Kat, why don't we hit up after, when you go into, it might be because you need to enable editing in the calculator. It shouldn't be. In the calculators, you only put numbers into the pale yellow areas, right? All of that is in there and it's in the instructions. But I'm here, I've got you on the other end. I just want to, again, it's always weird when I can't talk to you, but you do have access to this video post event. Yes, Jane. Maybe, Julian, if you wouldn't mind, do you know where to direct people to access the video?
Yep, I
Oh,
can direct
Linda's here.
people.
Yay,
Yeah,
Linda.
yeah. So, folks, we will have this video posted to the Business Link YouTube channel in the next 2 to 3 business days. So you'll be able to see it. Probably Julian's responsible for that. So Julian might take a couple days to do it. So please don't start looking till about Friday. Friday would be a good day to start looking. That gives us time to get it posted, but it will be posted there. You can see this video and anything else we've done is live webinars that are available to the public to view. Some of ours are workshops that we just keep internally with workshop folks, but this one is going to be a publicly viewable one. I have put in the Google review link. We've put in the link with the code for everything into the chat. We are running over time. Taunya, what is the best way for folks to reach out and contact you? What is the best way for them to do that?
I'm going to put it right in here, just helpdesk at nailthenumbers.com.
Okay, so everyone, we're going to leave the chat open for a minute or two after we stop the recording so that you can grab stuff out of the chat. So On that note, Tanya, you have like opened a lot of eyes again today, as you always do. Thank you very much for doing that. I have learned so much from you over the years, I have to say. And having worked with you, I know you've worked with a lot of real major entrepreneurs through the Business Development Bank of Canada. So just letting folks know that Tanya is like the we've worked together a long time, and when I was with BDC, she was the go-to consultant for so many of our mid-sized businesses to work with. So I just wanted to put a shout out that she knows what she's doing, and she's done this a very long time. So thank you, everyone, for staying tuned. And you've really, I know you've had a bit of an uncomfortable experience, but that's the best kind to have. Thanks so much, Tanya. Any last words before we stop recording and end the meeting?
I will just thank you, Linda, and thank you to all of you for showing up so powerfully and engaging in the chat. I know it's a challenging format, but I'm so grateful to you to have the power to be here, dial in on your numbers, because you're the inspiration to other founders. So thank you for the important work that you do. You are anything but small. Love you loads.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to stop the recording now, and everyone have a